I wanted to come to you to show you, since I've been receiving so many questions about how I get my seeds started, to show you pretty much how I do that. As most of you know, I live in the state of New York, in the Hudson Valley, and today's March 4th or March 5th, please forgive me. But it is winter time here, and the sunlight is very minimal if existent at all on some days. So that means I have to start my seeds inside on the indoors. And it does take a little bit of creative work to get it done, but I'm going to go through the steps and show you exactly how I do it. And you might find that your situation may be similar as well, depending on where you live. I also want to clarify that I don't know it all, obviously, but I've been gardening. My hubby and we've been gardening now since 2014 here in the Hudson Valley at the home that we live at currently. And through the years, we found these techniques to just work for us pretty much. And they've as of last year, many of you who follow me have seen the beautiful success we've had with gardening and growing our own food. So I'll just get started right away. The first things that you need to have on hand, or that I use these seed trays to start with, and then I use an organic pot and soil mix, and then you want to have lids to cover the seeds with, and obviously you need seeds, and then I have these identifiers here. Another thing I have in my arsenal of gardening stuff is a rough sketch of the garden layout right now, and pretty much the beds. These are the newer beds that we added last year. And actually to the back here, there's a greenhouse now. This is the rest of the garden, some more beds. But we've also added some additional beds further along this way that I didn't sketch in here. But essentially what I have is the layout of where I'm going to put what. We do practice crop rotation for the health of our soil and vegetables as well. So I actually planned the garden out a year in advance. So this I made last year. This summer I'm going to make next year's as well. All right, and then I have like my list of what grows and what yields crops when. So there's early, mid, and late yields. So when it comes to containers, we find that using these little seed packs work really well for us. Again, because we start our seeds on the indoors, and it tends to take up a lot of space if you let it. In the past, we did use like those red Solo cups and actually plastic cups. And we did find them to work really well, but they took up a lot of space. I do have pictures. I'll probably post them a little later on to show you how we did it. Our home has like 4 levels. So the second level is the sunniest, and we pretty much devoted one of those rooms to just seeds, and that's how we did it for like 2 years until we got smart and we decided to start our seeds off in smaller trays. We do have bigger pots, but that's what we use to transplant the seedlings as they get bigger, as well as to give away to friends and family so that they can plant in their garden. And yes, we do reuse these. Sometimes we find ourselves buying extras, but we do reuse them, and we wash them in between the season, and we store them downstairs in the basement. The next thing I have is these lids that help to keep the moisture in the containers until the seedlings burst through. This is the first year that we got this big one. I saw it at the store and I really liked it. I'll show you guys about, some more about that a little later on. But these are the lids that we use to cover with. And then these wooden identifiers, so they're called wood plant labels. This is my first year actually using them as well, and I've been writing on them with a pencil because they can be erased, which is awesome because then we can reuse them next year as well as needed. Okay, and that's really all of the essentials. Oh, and the soil. So about the soil, really any organic potting mix. Well, I do recommend organic. We do practice organic gardening. So this one is by Espoma, and we've used their products in the past with really good success. And it really has everything that the plant, that the seedlings need to grow in it. If you look at the packing, it says somewhere that it contains, here it is. It's all natural potting mix with earthworm castings and mycotone to grow big, beautiful plants. Mycotone actually, as you see right here, it shows that it helps to develop a much stronger root system, which actually helps to support and as well as helps with the health of the plant as well. All right, and that's the soil that we've been using for this year so far. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, well, why can't I just use regular soil? It's cheaper. Or why can't I get, some of the soil that's outside in my yard? I have it there. Why buy? Really, if you want to use the soil that you have in your yard, I would recommend that you sterilize it because it can introduce bacteria and funguses and stuff to the seedlings, and you won't be very successful. We used regular soil from the store instead of buying the potted mix because we were trying to save money. We just used, the regular soil, and we found that once we switched to the potted mix, we have had way much more success with the health of our plants and with the success rate and the germination rate of the seeds as well. So at the end of the day, you're going to do whatever works for you, but this is just what I recommend. When it comes to the seeds that you choose, I strongly recommend that you plant and you grow what you eat. The first year that we grew the garden, it was more experimental, and we just grew a lot of stuff just for the excitement of it. But every year that passed by, we figured, you know what, let's just grow the stuff that we use anyways. So during the spring, summer, and winter months, there's really no need for us to go to the market or anything like that. We literally grow everything that we eat, and we are actually focusing a little bit more this year we're actually focusing a little more on growing even more of the foods that we eat. One such thing is quinoa. So we're going to be trying out quinoa this year for the first time because we've almost replaced the rice with quinoa in our diet for the most part. And it's been working out really well. So I'm really eager to see how this product, how those seeds produce. And now for the fun part. So essentially all we do is that we fill these containers up with soil like this. And what I like to do, these right here are beet seeds, as you see, rosebud beets. Each beet seed, for example, contains this is like a capsule that contains 3 seeds on the inside. We just place them on top of the soil and then gently tuck them under about 1 inch. The good thing about the seeds that we get from Baker Creek is that they come with instructions on how to plant them. So we just literally follow the instructions on the back of the seeds and plant. Okay, planting instructions right here. All right, and once we've planted them and we've labeled them, we water them from below instead of watering from on top, which can tend to cause dampening off and other diseases. So once you've gotten your seeds in the soil or on top of the soil, like for example, these onions will be surface sown. The next thing to do is to cover them. In the past, we've used these lids. They've worked well, but now that we're using these wooden labels, they don't sit quite well on the containers. So what we did, we saw this at the store and we got it, and it's been working like a charm. Cost either $6 or $7 for it, but again, they're reusable. What I really like about them is the ventilation system that they have along the sides as well as on the top of them. Okay, so you can control the humidity. All right, and that's it. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If there's anything I didn't answer, anything that's unclear, I'll be more than happy to clarify. And until we see you again, happy gardening, people. Let's do this. A few things that I didn't mention, I'll just start, and it's going to be like these next few clips. The first thing is that yes, we do purchase the majority of our seeds from Baker Creek. However, we do also purchase from Richter's Herbs there in Canada. We also purchase from Urban Farmer. We've purchased from Heirloom Organics in the past. We've purchased some territorial seeds in the past. It's just a matter of your preference. What I really like about Baker Creek is that they have a lot of stuff that we have in Trinidad and in Grenada, which is where me and the hubs are from. So especially things like the bitter melon and stuff like that. So that's one of the things that actually drew me to Baker Creek, and has kept me as a happy customer these past few years. Another tip I have is when you do water your plants, and remember we're watering from below because we don't want to overwater the seedlings to get the soil too soggy. But when you do water, when we water, we do use rainwater. Hubby and I built a water catchment system last summer/fall, and I'm really excited. I can't wait to share that with you guys. But that's what we have been using to harvest our rainwater. That being said, before we did have this device, we did use tap water, really, fluorinated water to water our garden, and we were still very successful. But of course, when I have the choice, I prefer to do things as natural or as close to natural as possible. When you're thinking about what it is your seedlings need to develop and to grow, one neat way that I like to think about it is that they just need the bare essentials. All they need is water, warmth, and food for survival, really. Pretty much just like us, right? So you're going to water from below, okay? There's no need to fertilize because everything that your seedlings need to get started, if you use a mix like this, they're all in that soil. And then because we live in the north and it's cold, these tray covers provide ample heat for the seedlings. I start my seeds in the mud room. I've been doing that now for the past 2 years or so, and with the covers on and the temperature out there, it's enough to keep the seedlings to at least 65 to 70 degrees. In my past experience, using fertilizer in this stage caused a lot of my seedlings to fail because usually they were too strong and they got burnt out. So again, I highly recommend that really all you need to do is give your seeds the food that's already in the soil, and if your soil doesn't have food in it, then that's fine as well. The soil would be the food/shelter, really. The warmth of the cover and water. You don't want to overwater them as well because you don't want them to be too soggy. They won't germinate, okay? Light isn't necessarily essential at this moment, but when the seeds do come out, they'll need the light. And when we get to that point, I will do another tutorial and show you guys how I provide light and stuff for my seedlings, okay? Hope this was helpful. Speak to you all soon. Bye.